Hello, my name is Hans George Campbell, and today I thought I'd show you guys this really cool HDMI video board that I purchased on eBay for one of my Amiga 2000 computers. So let's get started. Okay, well, this is the HDMI video board that I purchased on eBay for use in my Bridgeboard Amiga 2000 computer. And I think this is a nice piece of hardware. I really do. I think this is a must-have for all Amiga 2000 owners. I really do. I think it's a nice piece of hardware. It works very well. This right here is basically the interface board that allows you to attach a Raspberry Pi up to the video slot of the Amiga 2000 computer. So that's basically what this is. Okay. And then you have your HDMI output. Okay, I like the fact that these are gold plated. That's real nice. And this right here is your button to control your menu, to go through your menu, so you can set up this board. Okay. This is for adding a second button. And this right here, this is a jumper that allows you to jump or either select the Denise chip or the Super Denise chip. So that's what that's for. Okay. I bought this from a guy up in the state of Washington. He's made quite a few of these. And I think he does a nice job. He sells them on eBay for about $150, which I think is a fair price for something like this. Because think of all the time that it takes, his time for making this custom-made bracket and for doing all this work here, He did that. I mean, think how much time it would take you if you had to do something like that. Think how much time it would take for you to make that bracket, So, yeah, I think something like this, it's worth $150. Of course, he let me have this. He knocked off 25 bucks. So he let me have it for 125 bucks. But I told him that for doing that for me, that I would show this board on my YouTube channel. So that's what I'm doing right now today. But I was going to do that anyway, because I think something like this. I like showing interesting new hardware for the Amiga and for the PC. Any interesting new hardware like this, I really enjoy showing it on my YouTube channel, and I think people will like seeing those types of videos, But yeah, here's the bracket. Okay, there's the bracket, and I think he did a nice job cutting this out and drawing it out and stuff. I think these are threaded. Yeah, I think he did a nice job on it. It's not bad. And he's got the this Raspberry Pi has the heatsink on the main chip, so that's nice. And then there was talk on the forums of some of these having noise in the video output, and that it was recommended that you solder a surface mount capacitor in between these two pins here. And so this mod, that mod has already been done on this board. So that's pretty nice. I like the fact that that was done on this board. And there's a micro SD card plugged in right here, and you can pull that out and you can copy, make a backup copy of that software on your PC. In fact, I recommend doing that. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. But that's also how you can upgrade or update the software. Okay, like when these new versions of the software is released, well, that's how you can update the software. The only negative thing that I can say about this is that there's no sound coming out of the HDMI output. And I think that sucks. Because remember, I'm planning on doing HD video capturing of the stuff that I do on my Amiga computer. Now, if I'm showing things like, how to do things on Deluxe Paint 3 or Aegis Sonics or Deluxe Music Construction Set, or how to create your own mod music using different trackers and things like that, or how to use the video toaster, or how to use the bridge board, things like that, you don't really have to have that much sound coming from the Amiga. And I'm going to be hooking up a microphone and narrating, so it's not like it's going to be totally dead silent, But I also wanted to show some of my favorite Amiga games and do complete playthroughs of those games. And you got to have sound, when you're doing that. You got to have sound because you want to hear the game sounds. Now, the music I'll probably turn down because a lot of that music, probably all of it, is copyrighted. And I don't want to take the chance on getting a copyright strike against me on my YouTube channel. So when I'm showing all these different Amiga games and stuff, that's probably why. You're not going to hear the music in the games because I got the music turned down or muted. And now you know why. In fact, I'll mention that again as I'm recording those gameplay videos. I'll mention it so that I'm going to have the music muted. Because I don't want to get copyright strikes, But you'll be able to hear the game sounds, and I think that'll be good enough. Plus, you'll be able to hear me narrating, while I'm playing each game, so that's going to be pretty cool. But I'm hoping that in the future, I don't know if it can be done in the software, or maybe they add like some kind of a jack or something, where you can take the audio output from the Amiga, right? And you plug it into some kind of a jack that connects to like a jumper on the board or something that feeds audio, the Amiga's audio, into this Raspberry Pi, so you have audio coming out the HDMI jack. But you really need, you guys that are working on this project right here, you really need to get busy. You need to add audio coming out of this HDMI port. You got to have audio. You just have to. You just have to, get that done. Anyway, that's the board. Next, I'm going to show you the instruction tips or installation tips, and I'll zoom in on that sheet of paper. It's a sheet of paper that came with the board, and I'll zoom in so that you can pause the video and read it if you want. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, here's the installation tips sheet that came with the board. I'll zoom in a little bit so that you can read it. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to read this. I'm trying to center it on the camera and make sure it's straight, but I'm pretty sure you can read that. But anyway, here's the installation tips that came with the board, and you can pause the video if you want to read this. Okay, so next I'm going to show you the video capturing device that I will be using with this board, and talk a little bit about that. So I will be back shortly. Okay, here is the HD video capturing device that I use on my main PC, Ruby. I've used this now for about 3 years, and it works very well. And if you want to get an idea of how well it works, just look at the videos on my Desirable Matchbox YouTube channel. All of those were created with this HD video capturing device, or the videos that are on my disc-based games YouTube channel. All of those videos were done using this device. And of course, anytime I have to capture stuff that I'm doing on my PC, Ruby, you know, though that was also done using this device here. So it works really well. It works just as good, if not better, than a lot of the Elgato, this Elgato capturing device a lot of you rave about. You know, you think it's so good, you know, but for almost $300, it better be really good. Well, this device works just as good, if not better, at about less than half the cost. You know, this costs at less than half the price of an Elgato. And you can readily get these on eBay. I don't know if they're available on Amazon. I don't really shop on Amazon. I shop mainly on eBay. And they're around between 120 and 130 bucks. And they're well worth it. I've had mine now for about 3 years. Never had any problems with it. No noisy lines or overheating or anything like that. It works great. You know, absolutely gorgeous. You know, but this is what I plan on using to capture video from that HDMI board that I'm plugging into my Bridgeboard Amiga 2000. I'm gonna buy another one of these just for use with my Amiga 2000. So stay tuned for all that wonderful content coming from my Amiga 2000, you know. But yeah, I thought I'd show this to you. It's just as nice, if not nicer, than the Elgato. The case is all metal. It's an all solid heavy steel case. That's really nice. It's got a display that lights up, you know, for your settings, and you can set, I think, when to record. You know, you can do like timed recording or capturing and stuff like that. This is your record button for turning on and off your recording. Okay, this button selects either a 720p or a 1080p resolution. This is your source button, and this is your settings button, and this, I think, well, I can't remember what that button does because I never use that button. And of course, here's your status LEDs. And then the front of this, you've got your infrared or your IR receiver right there. And this is for hooking up the IR extension, which I think you can buy for this, or it comes with this. I can't remember if one came with this or not. I know a remote came with this, because I do have a remote for this. This is where you plug in your USB thumb drive or your external USB hard drive for recording your videos. This is line out. I never use line out. This is your microphone input, and of course you can adjust the volume of your microphone so that when you're narrating, your voice is not overpowering the sounds, you know, the other sounds. So you can, I usually have this turned down a little bit. But yeah, I just use a cheap headphone microphone setup, like 10-15 bucks, you know, and it works fine, you know, works fine. And then the back of this, you got your input for your standard 5-volt power supply. Now, if you find that you have noise in your video, or you have problems with your video capturing, okay, using this, throw away that cheap 5-volt power pack that comes with this, and just get yourself a high quality 5-volt power supply. The one that comes with this, I think, is 1 amp, and it may not be enough current. So I would recommend getting a 2 amp or a 3 amp standard 5 volt power supply for for use with this. This is your HDMI input coming from your PC, or in this case my Amiga 2000 computer, coming from that HDMI video board. The output of that will plug into this HDMI input, so that I can record, I can capture whatever I'm doing on that Amiga 2000 computer. And this right here is your HDMI output for, hooking up to your HD TV, smart TV or whatever, or your computer monitor that has an HDMI input. This is for color composite input, so you can hook up like a Commodore 64 up to that, or an Atari 8-bit computer, or a Nintendo, or Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, that type of thing, or Apple computer, like if you want to record output coming from your Apple 2 Plus computer or whatever, this would be good for that. There's your left and right audio inputs. This is your component input, like for instance, if you want to capture from your Sony PlayStation 2 video gaming console. In fact, this is what I used to capture my PS2 game footage that I have on my disc-based games YouTube channel. I've used the component input here because I have component cable hooked up to my PlayStation 2, so it comes out component video, so I get that nice 480p 720p resolution from the PlayStation 2, so the videos turn out really nice. But yeah, I thought I'd show this to you, and I put the cork feet on the bottom. It doesn't come with any feet. I don't know why, but yeah. But yeah, there's that. I just wanted to show this to you. And you can pick these up on eBay. I don't know if you can get them on Amazon or not, but you can pick them up on eBay for around 120, 130 bucks. And I highly recommend these. These work really well, and they're worth every penny I paid for this. In fact, I'm going to be buying another one of these, like I said, because this one I use on Ruby, my PC Ruby. So I have to hook this back up on her. But I'm planning on buying another one of these to use with my Bridgeboard Amiga 2000 computer for capturing all that wonderful content. So yeah, that's that. And next I'll show you the USB hard drive that I use. Okay, this is the USB hard drive that I use with that HD video capture device. And this is a 1 foot long, a short 1 foot long USB cable. Okay. And I picked this up. I bought 2 of these on eBay. I think I paid $8 for the 2 of them. And it's a nice aluminum case. There's your USB jack, okay, and this thing gets its power from the USB port. And here's your activity LED. And of course I put the rubber feet on there. I put the little rubber feet on there. But yeah, it's pretty nice. You get 2 of them for about $8, these external cases on eBay. Of course you have to provide your own laptop hard drive or an SSD. I have inside this case a Seagate mechanical hard drive, laptop hard drive. It's, I think, a 250 gig, which is plenty of space for doing my my video capture. But yeah, I've got a 250 gigabyte Seagate laptop hard drive in there. And then this is just your standard, USB cable. It's about 1 foot long. And you can get those on eBay too. I think I bought both of these at the same time. Like I bought 2 of the cables, the same time I bought 2 of these cases here. Because I have another one of these with a Seagate 250 gig hard drive in it that I use sometimes with some other stuff, so yeah. Anyway, I thought I'd show you that. So now I want to show you a mod that I did on the HD video board. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, I did a modification to this board, and I recommend that you also do this modification. What I did was I removed the original bolts and nuts that were used to fasten the bracket onto this board. Okay? And then I installed 1/2-inch 440 bolts, okay, with a washer on each side and a lock nut on this side. Okay? And I'll tell you why I did that. When the card edge connectors, because that's what those are, the slots that are soldered into the Amiga 2000 motherboard, when they're soldered, I mean before they're soldered in, they can actually move just a little bit. So they're not perfect. They're not exactly in the same place on every Amiga 2000 motherboard. Okay, and they're soldered. They usually run through a flow solder machine. Okay, and so there's a slight variation as to exactly where that slot is. Okay, and it can be as much as, well, like a 32nd of an inch, but that matters, or a 16th of an inch, but that matters when you're plugging in this board and you also are trying to screw this, bolt this bracket into the back of the Amiga 2000 case. And that's another thing. The Amiga 2000 case, the back part bends. And the motherboard, when you put it on the standoffs and you bolt it in place, it's not exactly in the same location each time. The point that I'm trying to make is that this board, the bracket needs to be able to move a little bit. Just a little bit to make up for that. So that when you plug this board in and you bolt this bracket to the inside of the back of the Amiga 2000 case, the bracket can move a little bit. It can adjust itself. Because if you don't do that, if you have it firmly mounted to this board, okay, like it was before, let's say the back of the Amiga's case is like about right here somewhere, okay? It's going to pull that board this way when you bolt it on, when you tighten up those bolts, which is going to put a lot of stress. You'd be surprised how much stress it'll put on the card edge connectors and on this board in that slot. It could possibly crack or split those card edge connectors, okay, or damage the leading edge of the PCB. Okay, you don't want that. So what you want to do, you want to install these 1/2-inch bolts. They're 440 bolts, 4-40 bolts. And I usually get them at my local Ace hardware store. So you need to write that down. 1/2-inch 4-40 bolts. Okay? And the washers that I use, because you want to put washers on this too, because this bracket and the board is going to be allowed to shift. It's going to be able to move or seat itself. The washers that I use, I believe, are 3mm washers because they fit the bolt, tighter around the bolt than your standard American size washers. Okay, so 3mm washers, I think, is what I use. And a washer has a rough side and a smooth side. Oh yeah. Okay, you learn about things like this when you take classes on mechanical assembly, which I did. In the 25 years that I did electronics assembly and I was an engineer's assistant, I also was a mechanical assembler. And yes, I had to attend school. I had to take classes to learn all these different things about mechanical assembly, almost like what an engineer would have to go through. You know, so I understand a lot of the engineering concepts when it comes to mechanical assembly. Okay, so yeah, washers also help distribute out the pressure more on a larger surface area. All right, and then over here on this side, okay, the smooth side of the washer goes toward the PCB. This is very important. If you have the rough side of the washer facing that PCB, it'll scratch up, it'll dig into that fiberglass, the PCB, and it will scratch it up and mess it up. You want the smooth side of the washer facing toward the PCB. Alright? And the reason why I used a lock nut, because what's nice about a lock nut is you can tighten a lock nut where you need it. And it will stay there. It will never loosen up. It'll never loosen up because it's a lock nut. It has a nylon insert that allows this nut to stay tightened wherever you put it. So what you do is you tighten up this lock nut on the bolt to where it's almost snug. Or, okay, you can tighten up where it's snug and then back it up about half a turn. Okay, and the reason why you want to do that is so that now this bracket is able to move back and forth on that PCB. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this bracket it's free to move back and forth on that PCB. So that this way, when you plug this board into the Amiga 2000's video slot and you bolt this in to the back of the case, this bracket is it can shift like this to seat itself so that you're not putting unnecessary pressure on the card edge part of this PCB, especially the leading edge right here. You can actually damage that if there's too much pressure. Or you don't take a chance on splitting that video slot, which it can be very easily done if it's too much pressure this way. Like when you put these bolts in and it's pulling on that board, you don't want that. You want this to where it can move back and forth. So what I would recommend doing, you know, the guy that's making these brackets, is I would make the holes right here more oval. Just a little bit. It doesn't require much. Make the holes oval. So that, and then I would recommend doing this, installing these 440 bolts with the washers and the lock nuts so your customers don't have to do that. If you have to charge a little bit more, that's fine. But I would recommend explaining in your description why you did that, okay, or whatever, I don't know. It's up to you. But then that would allow this to shift a little bit, to just shift itself or move. Okay? And it'll keep from putting a lot of stress on you know, on the board and on the card edge connectors. But yeah, that's what I would recommend doing on that. But that's what I did on mine, and it worked. I think it'll work out really well because it will allow this, like I said, to move back and forth where it needs to. It doesn't take much, about a 16th of an inch. You know, moving back and forth is probably enough, or an 1/8 of an inch to move back and forth. I think I got it set where to move back and forth about an 1/8 of an inch. See, it'll actually seat itself. And also, it can move at a different angle too, depending on how the back of the case is, okay? But, yeah, I think that will work out really good. But anyway, I thought I'd show you that and talk to you guys a little bit about that, you know, that I recommend doing that modification. So again, the parts that are needed for this modification, you need 2 1/2-inch long 4-40 bolts. You know, write this down. And you need 4 3mm washers. Okay, and remember the smooth side of the washer, this is especially important for the PCB board. The smooth side of these washers go toward the PCB so that the PCB is not scratched up. Okay, a washer has a smooth side and a rough side, and you can actually see that under magnification. And then you want the lock nuts that will fit onto the 4-40 bolts. And you want to snug it right? And then back it off by either half a turn or a full turn. And that should be enough. And then it will allow this bracket right here, once this board is plugged into the video slot in the Amiga 2000, okay, it will allow this bracket to shift a little bit, to move back and forth where it needs to go when you install these bolts. Okay, just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Hans George Campbell, and until next time.